Well, hello, and a very warm welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show. It's my favourite part of the show. We go all the way down to South Africa to see my good chum. I can call you that now. Errol Musk, how are you, Errol?
I'm okay, thank you. Yeah,
Good, not too bad. And I'm incredibly busy as always. Everybody's wanting a piece of you, aren't they?
yeah, they seem to. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why. No idea why.
Well, it's the charm. It's you're such a great raconteur, and I tell you why I love being having you chat all the time. Is that we put all these terrible stories into perspective. That's the idea. Is so much misinformation in the press and so on and so forth. So many reports about you and Elon and your family. And what I like to do is put them to you each time and give you a chance to respond. So let's start with the big story at the moment, which is obviously SpaceX. Great story from SpaceX finally bring those astronauts, Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, back to Earth after 9 months being stuck. As the father of Elon, who sort of watched his space dreams grow, what's it like to see these real world impacts unfold? And how do you react? How did you react when you heard the news?
Well, it's not major. I mean, it's not major news. I mean, Elon offered to bring them back 5 months ago, I think it was. Within 2 weeks. But the Biden criminals, that's all I can call them, they're coming out now. They're soon going to be in court, and they're soon going to be facing charges. And the charges are very serious. So the Biden criminals didn't want to give the credit to SpaceX, sort of before the election. And so they wouldn't let them, with their cronies in the different departments, refused to let SpaceX bring them back. And as soon as Elon got the go-ahead, which was about 2 weeks ago, he's brought them back. Simple.
Well, I mean, a small story maybe in Elon's world, but for the poor astronauts who've been stuck up there for 9 months, it was only supposed to be a few days.
That's the sort of thing we do on a Monday morning, we don't, I mean, it's like, let's not do something too tough on a Monday morning. Let's just try and keep it a little light, that's all.
Yeah.
So that's all, it's a bit light. We have much more serious things going on. I mean, Trump has now told them that the auto signing of these pardons was a criminal act. I mean, oh man, oh, I'm so glad this piece of crap son is in the country here now, apparently, and I would advise him not to go back to the US. Find some pals here and hide away.
Yeah, well, you're talking about
He's going to
Hunter
go to jail for a
Biden.
long time. Eh?
You're talking about Hunter Biden.
Yes. Yes. I wouldn't call him Hunter, I'd call him Runner or Runawayer or something. It's a stupid name for him.
Well, I mean, it is extraordinary. You and I have discussed this beforehand because they were preemptive pardons, and this sort of. But people say, well, you can get away
There's no
with
such thing.
murder.
Well, no, Andrew, I'm now giving you a preemptive pardon. You can do whatever you like for the rest of your life. Whatever it is that you do, you're pardoned. And I just want you to feel comfortable in whatever you do. So please go ahead. That ex and that one that dropped you that time, go for it. You're free.
But for the sake of the record, there is no ex trying to go for it. But yes, it sounds good.
Oh, well, you're lucky. Oh, you're good looking. You see, you get everybody. You don't have exes who dump you and make you feel bad.
Well, it is good. I mean, it's phenomenal what's going on. There's sort of headlines all over the place. I mean, yeah, we always talk about this, and I see you in many interviews. People say, "Oh, you must be very proud of your son," and you always dismiss that word "proud." But of the recent achievements, as they say, for the astronauts concerned, 9 months being in space was a great achievement. What do you think Elon should be most proud of, and how does it compare to your own experiences and engineering challenges?
Well, I think the thing you should be most proud of is that without, you know, um, he was very taken in by the leftist propaganda, or what we call it, and fake media and everything for many years. And he didn't see through it. He thought I was wrong. And he's returned to the values that I taught him as a child, as a young boy living with me. And he has to be given credit for that. I'm very proud of the fact that he he turned around and said, I made mistakes in the past, and now I see what's what. I'm proud of that. That's something to be proud of. As far as them achieving things, all of them, I mean, a lot of them, I have others that are even more deeply involved in effort and struggling. My other children, I mean, and my thoughts go to them right now more than Elon, really. I know he's a person who's very grateful as a parent. I mean, as a parent, you start off as a parent. You're a parent. I mean, you start as a parent. I mean, are these, sort of numbskulls of mine going to be able to do a job that they don't get fired from, because, I mean, at home, you try to tell them, look, you do things wrong at home, and I sort of, moan and groan or crap you out or whatever the term is. But at work, they just say, don't come in till you're fired. Don't come in tomorrow. That's different. That's much worse. And so you always worry about that with your children. And I do anyway. I mean, I look just at my own parents, I was being lauded and everything as a young engineer. And my parents were always saying, when I told them I'm having this and that meeting with this and that big shot, it was only in the newspapers or something, my parents would say, do you think, don't you think you should do this? Don't you think you should sort of say sorry? Don't you think you should sort of apologize more, for existing, That was our approach. My parents' approach, don't hurt anybody, don't upset anybody, because how people can be, this kind of thing. So, I mean, that's a parent. That's a parent. I mean, if you're not like that, then you're not a parent.
Yeah, and I think
and then, of course, Betty Davis is very
another
famous. I just want to say, I just want to say, Betty Davis is famous for saying, if your children never hated you at some point, then you were never a parent. I didn't say that. She said
it's
that.
a good point, isn't it? And I was watching with my wife. I was watching yet another documentary about Elon, and I heard lots of stories, most of which I realized were probably untrue, having spoken to you directly. And I found it extraordinary that they didn't talk to you directly about some of those stories. And what I love about our conversations is that we can put them directly to you. You can respond. That's the proper way of doing things. How do you feel when you see these documentaries, which clearly misrepresent you? They clearly misrepresent and don't understand your family. How does that make you feel?
I don't care. I mean, if you've been through high school, a co-educational high school, particularly, I would say, you know everything about life. If you survived this 5 or 6 years at a co-educational high school in the West, let's say the Western, I imagine it's the same in other countries. I don't know. If you survive that, you go from the girls' point of view in a high school, they come to the conclusion, if they don't get their way with you, you must be gay, and so you walk around with that, and then you've got the other boys who seem to think you're not doing too well, or rather you're doing too much better than they are, and they would like to have a fight with you, which means, would you please meet us in the boxing ring? I want to beat your brains out. And so a high school is a sort of mini lifestyle, a mini community, a mini world. So if you've been through that, you know a lot of things by the time you come out, and if you in any way shine, you know all about it by the time you come out. When you get into, I'll just take this one. When you get into the world outside, it helps all those lessons that you had. And in the schools I went to, for example, the boys were caned. They were caned. I mean, caned, where they were left railway tracks on your backside for 3 or 4 days. I don't know if you know what that is.
Oh no, absolutely. They used to have that at my school.
Terminal point.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, the world outside is a bit like that, and you just take it. I mean, if on the other hand, if it's true, if somebody comes up with something that's true, the thing to do is somehow to try, I suppose, and apologize for it. I don't know how you would do it, but you'd sort of apologize if they said something that's completely true,
Right.
and you say, I made a mistake at that point in time, and please forgive me, I'm trying to be a better person, or something like that, but if it's not true, well, then why waste your time with it?
Well, I don't know, but it's like, I mean, some of them are defamatory, some of them clearly I would find very upsetting. Known you for some time now. We've had lots of these great conversations unpacking a lot of the untrue stories in the media. And I felt for you and your family. I thought it was wrong of the documentary makers not to at least reach out to you to get your side of it. And it's that search for the
No.
truth, as I say, not taking either side. The only mistress we should have is the truth, isn't it?
Well, the book that this Isaacson guy wrote is absolute junk. It's junk from one end to the other. I mean, I don't know what this guy was doing. They said he did Steve Jobs' biography. I mean, this guy is useless. He's totally useless. And the stuff he wrote is nonsense. He took some sort of rumor rubbish here and there and actually put it in print. I mean, the guy's ridiculously stupid. And I pity anyone who was stupid enough to buy that book because it's very expensive. On the other hand, the second biography written by a man by the name of Michael Flismus, called Risking It All, is actually fairly accurate. And it never got much publicity, but it's fairly accurate. I have a copy, and I was quite amazed at the relative, because he never interviewed me, Michael Flismus. He asked me to interview, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. And he said, okay, I'll find everything out by myself, which he did, and it was fairly accurate. And so, yeah, so you don't worry about it. I mean, if you're going to worry about somebody going around saying that, Andrew Eborn, Eborn is he's a closet this or that or something like that, and it's not true. Well, I mean, you just thank them for the publicity. Well, thanks for the publicity, fellows. Thanks, appreciate that.
Well, it's also Oscar Wilde who said the only thing. Oscar
So,
Wilde, wasn't it, Errol? He said the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. So I guess if that's the sort of reaction
yes,
to it, yeah,
yes,
it is interesting. But look, I mean, a couple of the big stories at the
Oscar
moment.
Wilde, such a brilliant.
Oh, fantastic!
What
A
a brilliant
wonderful
person.
wit, and you share that great sense of humor
beyond
as
that.
well.
No, he's way beyond a wonderful wit. He said, for example, this: the truth is sometimes plain, but it is never simple. Now, if you can understand that,
yeah,
then you can understand a lot of things.
Yeah.
You see?
No, absolutely. Well, so looking at some of those things, I mean, another big story at the moment is there's this public frustration towards Tesla, and there have been terrible reports of vandalism at dealerships and protests popping up.
It's publicity, more publicity, free publicity. You don't have to go to the newspapers and pay £500,000 for adverts or anything like that. You're getting it all the time, and I don't know if you realize it, but if scumbags do things like that to you, you become the hero, and they just remain scumbags. And what people remember is the name Tesla.
Yeah. I mean, you say that, Errol, but the stock, unfortunately, it's had a bit of it's come down since December amid these sort of boycotts. I mean,
all the stocks have come down. All the stocks have come down, and this is cyclical. It's cyclical. And, until they reach levels, people push the stocks. There are tricks of the trade and everything, moving the stocks up and down. And as Elon says, he never looks at stocks. He never looks at the stock value. So the thing is, it's basically like your home. One day people will come to you and say, oh, everybody's moving into your area. Your home must be worth, much more than you thought it was. And then the next time they come and they say, oh, no, but everybody's moving out of your area. Your home has no value anymore. Well, it's nonsense. So your home has an inherent value, and that's the end of it. Yeah.
But do you think he takes it personally, though, these attacks on Tesla?
No. I mean, when you're being attacked or being lauded, it's sort of like the same coin, just different sides of the same coin. The whole thing in life is, as you said something about Oscar Wilde just now, the whole thing in life is to be noticed and not be noticed. I mean, I was talking about a high school. The worst thing that ever be is, I went to such and such a high school, to a crowd of boys and girls who went to that high school, and they say, "Oh, you were there. I never noticed you. Never saw you." It's not so good. You're actually wanting. That's very unpleasant. No, no, no. If you are being noticed, that's what matters. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And
Well, the other thing about being noticed is Trump turned the White House into a Tesla showroom, didn't he? He had Cybertrucks and the red Model S out front, saying he'd buy one to support Elon. What was your reaction when you saw President spotlight Tesla in that way? And did Elon give you the heads up that was going to happen?
Well, no, there are two schools of thought, sort of, in the car business. I have, for example, petrol cars, or what I call petrol gas. I don't get petrol. I think you call it there petrol as well. And, I'm sort of petrol head, I mean, I like it. I like the petrol head. I like changing gears. I've just driven my little Peugeot sports car. It's a convertible to Cape Town and back at 150 kilometers an hour all the way and back. And, it's terrific. I mean, going through the gears and all that sort of stuff. When you have say an electric car, it's not so interesting. It's not as interesting. You sort of, it drives for you, it does everything for you. So there's two schools of thought. There's the people like, I imagine Trump being my age and from my generation, we like the Mustang, and then my personal favorite is that boxy looking Aston Martin that came out once. It looks like a Mustang, a bit like a Mustang. And, if I could get one, I'd like, okay, well, I can sell one kidney and then I could have, then I can buy one, But yeah, so there's two schools of thought. So Trump was of that sort of school, and it's very hard. It's sort of ingrained in you, But he's realized he can't fight, progress, and so he's made it. He swallowed his pride and sort of said, "Okay, I'll drive an electric car." Yeah. Another thing about driving an electric car is that once you start driving an electric car, it's very it grows on you. I mean, you sort of look at people in petrol stations as you drive past with sort of wonky eye. Or, what are they doing there? What's all that crowd around that petrol station? You don't really know what they're even there for. You've forgotten. Oh yeah, they're buying petrol. Oh, that's right. I remember now.
Absolutely. Well, the Tesla showcase, if you like, at the White House, it coincided with the retaliatory tariffs, didn't it? Basically happening at the moment. How do you think Elon's navigating this tension between the global needs of Tesla and his loyalty to Trump?
Well, people adjust. I mean, people adjust to all these things. At the moment in this country, when you buy a car, you're already paying about 90% of it is taxed to this hopeless government. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, it's just taxes. I mean, I was amazed once to be in England at Piccadilly Circus area, and I saw the new Mercedes-Benz coming out in 1990, sort of like a Mustang-looking one, convertible. I looked at this thing, oh, this is terrific. And I went in to look at it, and they said, if you take an FOB, it's 100,000 francs. Oh, no, not francs, Deutschmark. So then I thought, what? That's ridiculous. What do you mean? Can't be that. It must be like 300,000. No. Oh, no, that's FOB. It's when you get it to your country that it becomes 300,000. If you follow what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, so tariffs, we all have that misery. And, so what can you do? At the other, I just wanted to say about these tariffs that Trump's talking about. I was aware many years ago that if I went to Canada, which I did quite often because I taught at a university in Ontario, that the people on weekends, because I would spend quite a few weeks there, the people on weekends would all head to Buffalo, which was the nearest United States city. They cross the border on a Saturday morning. They come back late on a Saturday evening, and they have their trunk loaded with groceries, whatever it is they wanted, anything, kettles, toasters, whatever they needed, and the car is like loaded, and and then they have to get back through They don't have any trouble with the American customs. They have a problem getting back into Canada, and then I did this a few times with people, and the Canadian custom guys would like sort of turn around as you came in because they were trying to help, and say, "Gee, look, there's a bird in the distance," and then you would say yes, and then you're all looking that way, and then you drive through, you see, and you know what I mean. So that they didn't stop you. They're really nice because it was so much better for the Canadians to spend their loonies or whatever they call their money on the American side. They get so much more value, than they did on the on the Canadian side, and that was because Canada charges incredible tariffs then on American goods. I was told, for example, if you bought something in the dairy line, let's say in America, and then compared to what you paid for it in Canada, it was 3 times more expensive in Canada because of the tariff. So the tariff on an American, whatever it is, would be 3 times as much on cheese or something like that, And I said, really, so that's the thing. So Canada's been charging the United States tariffs through the roof for years. And because Canada's viewed as a sort of weak neighbor, they just put up with it.
Right. I mean,
But,
I always thought, from Trump's point of view, it's a negotiating tactic, isn't he? He said tariff is that most beautiful word, but he's basically trying to negotiate deals around the world. It is the art of the deal, isn't it?
Well, yes, I don't know what, I think what gave rise to tariffs, I'm not sure what, all I know is that they've been ripping off the Americans. There's no question about that. And in order to keep going, the Americans have been borrowing against their own country to keep everybody happy. So you've got the European Union charging the US 3 times the tariffs that what they are charged, the other way around. And that's not right. That's not right. I mean, the European Union as a group is as big as the United States. They are fleecing the United States. They're a bunch of crooks, really. They're a bunch of what we call scallops, bad. They do that to the Americans because the Americans are kind and decent people, and they try to help, if you know what I mean. The Americans never. I was talking to an American station the other day, a bunch of Democrats actually, and they were moaning at me. But I was saying, the Americans, they'll give and give and give. They don't take. And the last thing they'd ever think of is going to another country and asking for financial help, if you know what I mean. They'd rather die. They'd rather, all die than ask another country to give them money to them. It's really weird, actually. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what's happening now is right. It's got to stop. Yeah. I mean, Canada's a prime example. I mean, it's ridiculous that they don't want America to charge 25% on dairy products, and they charge 300% on dairy products. I mean, hello. Hello. I mean, what are we talking about here? Yeah. What a bunch of numbskulls.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly going to shine. It's going to be interesting to see how Canada it all pans out.
A lame place. Yeah. It's got to be the home of the lame. It should be called Calamita. Calamita. It's the lamest country I've ever come across. What a bunch of lame people.
Interesting. One of the other reports as well, Errol, is that Grimes, your daughter-in-law, ex-daughter-in-law, recently shared her frustration about not keeping her grandchildren, your grandchildren, offline, saying she's begged Elon to limit their exposure. As their grandfather, how do you view this clash between their public lives and her privacy push? And has Elon ever talked to you about it?
Well, I have discussed a little bit. It's a private matter. So it's their business. It's not really for me to talk about that kind of thing. It's their matter. It's their business. And I have my business with my children. So I wouldn't want to comment on that. I do think that some of the ideas she had for the children were a bit odd. And I can understand Elon's frustrations. But other than that, giving little children tattoos and all that sort of stuff, a bit silly, if you know what I mean. And Elon had to protect his children from that,
Yeah, and I
And
think that's right. I mean,
he wasn't married to her.
it, yeah, it's very, very difficult, isn't it, when you have different views about bringing up children, as you say, as you wisely quoted at the very beginning, saying, "Look, if you haven't fallen out with your children, as Betty Davis once said, then you haven't really been a proper parent." I mean, you've been very candid, including when in our conversations about your relationship with Elon. How's it evolved as he's juggled things like the Tesla backlash and global fame, and so on and so forth? That's him on the phone now saying, don't tell Andrew Eborn how it's evolved. That's what he's telling you. It's got to be good. There you go.
Sorry. What was
That's
that?
all right. It's all good
How?
stuff. Yeah, I mean, how's your relationship evolved? I mean, he's obviously in the spotlight
What was
even
the
more
question?
now.
How is our relationship
Evolved, yes. I mean,
with
you've
Elon?
obviously had these recent things. Has it brought you closer together now that you're basically he's so close to Trump? He calls it tech support and so on and so forth, and he's got his own troubles trying to navigate those. Have you found your relationship has strengthened as a result of those? And do you give him sort of
Well,
fatherly advice
we
on
don't
these
have any.
things?
We don't have any problems. We don't have any problems at all. Nothing. I mean, I needed to purchase something. I didn't really need to purchase it, but I mentioned it, and I looked at my account this morning, and the money's there. So you don't just send me the money for it. So that's personal, and I don't like to really share that, but I will share it. But because I don't really have to say to him, hello, how are you? How was your week? And he says, how was your week, Dad? I do that with the girls. Unfortunately, with the girls, it's quite the opposite. It's quite the opposite, the girls. It's long, long talks, which go on for like an hour, and and you keep you actually can do. I shouldn't say this. You can do all your planning for the next 2 weeks during that conversation, with your daughter. She tells you all her problems, but at the same day, at the same thing, I mean, it's quite nice to talk to your daughters. Sons are like, yes, no, I don't think so. Goodbye. You know, that's sons. Get ready for it if you have a son.
Oh no, I have
you
I
know,
have wonderful
you
children.
know.
I'm very very proud of both of them and everything they achieve, and they have my full support always, which is good. But you're right, it's just being there, and the problem is we've said before, how nobody understands the relationship between other people, and they all speculate, don't they? Which must be very painful sometimes, isn't it?
No, not at all. Well, yes. I mean, I as a kid growing up, as a person growing up, I would have some friends, and then they would say, "So and so's father did this," or "So and so." We had even worse situations. So and so's father committed suicide. These are terrible things. You don't want to know about it. As a man, as a boy, one of the worst things you want is, you want to come in the evening if you're still at home. I mean, and your parents just say hi. Don't ask me how my day was. And if your father says, "How was your day?" you think, "Oh my God, somebody phoned him." You know, somebody must have got hold of him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, why is he asking me that? Somebody's been in touch with him. And you start thinking, ooh, what am I going to say here? Because now lie. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, and all that. No, the relationship between men is different to the relationship between women and men.
Yeah.
I would say.
No, it's very interesting. I mean, the other big story happening here at the moment is the big conflict between Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe. And Elon's very publicly taken a strong stance in favour of Rupert Lowe. And you said, Nigel, you said on this very programme, Nigel, you don't think is up to the job. What's your current take on this conflict? Rupert Lowe's basically been thrown out of the party. He's been referred to the police for criminal investigation about things he's alleged to have said. What's your take on it?
Well, I've seen that more or less from the side. It's terribly weak to hear stuff like that. Terribly bickering. It just reeks of weakness. So then that's no good at all. You don't want anything like that. And no, I don't. Unfortunately, the Reform Party is sort of like your Tory party in the same jacket, different color, and it's sad actually because I didn't like seeing Starmer there, visiting Trump and leaning over as far as he could in the other direction while he was talking to Trump. You know, this little sort of prick of a character. Sorry, that's how I see it. And you know, I mean, it's pathetic. If I'd been Trump, I'd have told him, he can see one of the juniors, but he can't see me. I wouldn't have seen him. I would have said no. But not after you've told people that I'm this and that and the other, publicly and so on, as Starmer and his crowd have done. So yeah, but as far as the Reform Party is concerned, I don't know. I go on a few of these other channels, and they talk about that everything's okayish in the US, in the United Kingdom at the moment, okayish, and I say that's nice to hear, and I'm happy to hear that. At the same time, the sort of bad things are going on. They're still carrying on. It's becoming a taxed country, a country. It's heading more and more to the situation where in England, in UK, I mean, the government is far more than half your life. And you don't want that. The very worst you want is government and politics to be half your life, preferably about 10% of your life. But when it's starting to become 60 to 70% of your life, well, then it's not fun anymore at all. Then you want to see what's wrong here, And, my thoughts went earlier today when I was listening to something to the time when you had Henry VIII.
Yes.
Who simply, this monster. I mean, this monster. I mean, if I was in England, I'd have everything that relates to him scratched, damaged, chipped off the wall. He simply had people who said who opposed him had their heads removed.
And I know I always make this point. We look at history. History's really ugly.
That's not right.
And we teach school children it's all a bit of fun, we laugh about it. It's tragic. It's awful when you look at the realities.
No,
quite
yes, incredible. They make these movies as though it's some sort of glamorous thing.
Yeah.
No, as far as England is concerned at the moment, it's quieting down. I'm not sure what to say about the UK at the moment. I have no idea what to say, except I thought by now Starmer would have done so many bad things. He would have been removed or had to have called an election of some kind.
That's what you said.
Maybe
you
he's
said
improved.
to me,
I don't know.
We had a bet he was going to be out by February, I think you said, and having a look at that. But I agree with you with the way he was groveling up to Trump. It was embarrassing, wasn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, if I were him, I would have first. Maybe he did. I would have apologized. I would have said, "Look, I'd like to apologize for the things we said about you. Maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe he did.
Well, he should have done it publicly. I mean, Zelensky made the mistake of that appalling thing in the White House there, and he had to sort of come back groveling, didn't he?
Yes, it looked like that. And then of course I did see that the next day he went off after Trump said no more weapons to Ukraine. He went the next day and addressed the rest of those Davos people that call themselves, elected politicians of some kind, that we're now going to scrape the barrel and find everything we've got weapon-wise for Ukraine. And we're going to send it to Ukraine so that we can keep this war going. We want this war to keep going. And then if you've got half a brain, you start to realize, hey, wait a minute. Why are they doing this? They're hiding something. They're terrified that this war should stop. Because if it stops, maybe there's something they don't want people to know about. So whatever they do, they've got to keep this thing going.
You're absolutely right. You've got to ask yourself why they want to keep it going. What are they trying to hide? Who benefits from war carrying on? And as I say, I think Trump's really focusing. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He wants to be the president who brings peace. Errol, we've run out of time this time. It's been an absolute delight having you on the show as always. For now, Errol Musk, thank you for joining me.
Okay.